Hello patrons, this is Cyber Saloon. So today we're going to be going over a redo of The Healer episode 3, and I'm sure after the craziness that was episode 2 that it can't get any darker. Oh god, it does. So this episode was pretty good overall. It introduces us to a new character that will be joining Keiru, and it also kind of gives a look at Keiru's next two targets, which is Blade and Bullet, the world's most creative names. So we kind of pick up this episode, Flare, which is now Freya, and Keiru. They're kind of going off. They're trying to escape the capital because he doesn't think it's safe anymore. And they notice this actually interested me a lot. They noticed on the wanted poster is the commander's face, and of course Keiru is the one who basically set up where it looked like that he was the one who killed Flare. And someone mentions a comment, and this is what interested me, about Nora. So Nora is Flare's sister, and the way that Keiru kind of talks about her, she seems like she's a lot worse than Flare. I don't know why. Again, I don't have much to go off this, but Keiru kind of talks about how she was the one who kind of picked up that he was becoming immune to things. And the way he kind of talks about her, he doesn't just seem like afraid of her, in a way, but he seems kind of very wary that he knows that she's gonna be a lot harder to deal with if he ever runs into her. And just the way that, again, we really don't have much about her, but it seems like she's a smarter, more sinister version of Flare. That's kind of what I picked up. You get kind of a glimpse of her during the opening, but just the way that kind of Keiru kind of talks about her, it kind of seems like she's a more sinister, smarter, I would say, version of Flare, because she's the one who kind of picked up that when he became immune to the happiness heroin stuff that he ended up having. So they kind of threw this in just in case you weren't on board with Keiru's revenge arc. This flashback was thrown in to make sure you are on board with Keiru's revenge arc. They already established it well enough for me, honestly, in episodes 1 and part of 2. I didn't really need any more justification than say these people are pretty bad. But then we meet Bullet and Blade, the world's most original names. But I was really, what is their actual? Well, whatever. So it kind of starts off they just got done. They're kind of showing off their power. Flare shows off her magic a little bit, and then you see that Keiru is walking up to them in the forest. Again, this is a flashback, and he's just drugged out of his mind. He's just saying happiness, happiness, he wants the drugs again. And then you see them kind of making fun of him. Flare, of course, is saying, "Oh, you're kind of worthless." And then the guy, I don't know why, he reminds me he looks like Jet from Cowboy Bebop, but imagine if Jet took a very, very dark turn in his life. And Flare kind of makes a comment, and I was like, oh god, you kind of already get shown a glimpse of it in episode 1, but when Flare makes the comment, she's like, you're the one who messes with him and treats him the worst. I'm just like, oh god, I already know where this is going. We already all know where this is going. So we start Keiru's unfortunate, it seems like his nightly adventure. So it starts off with Flare, and he's on the floor, butt ass naked, just asking for the drugs, the happiness heroin that they give him, basically. And Flare enjoys, messing with him, and then instead of pouring it on the floor, she ends up pouring it on her ham wallet. She apparently has a hardcore. This is I was like, wow, this is a pretty bad fetish. So she pours it on her ham wallet. And because of that, Keiru eats he eats her out, and she's getting off to it. He's eating her out because the drugs are on her fucking muff. So after that, after she kind of gets herself off, she just kicks him away and was she's mad at him because he's hard. I'm just oh come on, is that oh, it's kind of shitty. No shit, he's gonna be after that. I'm sure he has to have some awareness of what he just did. And then that wasn't enough for him, so she starts beating the shit out of him. She just starts kicking him on the ground. I'm like, oh my god, dude. I'm he goes through this on a nightly basis too, dude. I'm oh shit. So this is where it gets even more fucked after this. She pours more drugs on his dick so she ends up making him blow himself. I'm just like, dude, you don't have to justify. Flair deserved to get her cheeks clapped, and I don't need any more justification. Like, she got what was coming to her. So after okay, that's just step one. Okay, so after Flair's done with him, like, she like throws him out of the damn tent. Blade apparently wants to scissor Flair because she has like a thing for Flair, and she noticed I guess she was kind of peeping in on like what was happening in there. So she ends up just beating Keiru's ass with a stick until it's broken. And this part's just, I'm like, oh my god, this woman, there's something wrong with this woman. So Blade ends up making out with Keiru because Keiru just got done eating out Flair, and obviously Blade wanted a piece of that ass. And I was like, oh my god. So she ends up doing that. She ends up like making out with her. And she like throws up and just like beats the shit out of him some more. I'm just like, oh my god, like this guy's life was terrible. I'd be just as mad as he was. Like, but it's not over, folks. So he goes back to his tent, and as soon as he opens his tent, I'm just like, before I even saw it, I was like, oh my god, I was like, Bullet's gonna be in there. We see like a bed of roses, and I'm just like, oh my god, like, I'm just like, I don't need to see this, man. The rest of the other two bits were kind of rough to watch. I was like, oh god. So in a true romantic fashion, Bullet has like laid out a bed of roses because it already kind of gets shown in episode 1 that like Bullet basically rapes him like a lot, and it's weird, dude. Like it was super cringe, not in a, like because it was delivered bad or written wrong, but like Bullet has this weird like psycho obsession like with Keiru. Like he's like, oh, I love you, I'm the only one who treats you right, and like, oh, he grabs his face and just like beats the shit out of him. He's like, your face is gonna wither and get older. I'm just like, oh my god, I want to see like especially Blade and Bullet. Like I want to see them get screwed over worse than Flair. All right, and that's saying a lot because like these people are just messed up, dude. I'm like, you kind of see this like later in the episode. I'm just like, is there a person in this world who's like normal? I'm just like, all these people have like terrible problems. I'm just like, the only normal-ish person I can think of in this series so far is that woman who's kind of like his motherly figure, but I don't remember what her name was. She's not his actual mom, but she kind of raised him. So after that, Keiru like wakes up from the dream, and like obviously he's wanting to like revenge bang Flair, which he does. Which her name's Freya now, but like yeah. So he ends up screwing her, and then he goes to the river like, you know, obviously I'm gonna screw over those other two as well. I hope he kills the other two. I'm gonna be honest. Like I don't know why, but they seem worse than Flair. If like I don't know how it's possible, but they seem like they're actually worse. So Freya and Keiru kind of like go into this town that doesn't have any law. I think it's called Deadwood. No, I forget what it's actually called. It's but it's like a town that doesn't really have like any system of governance like at all. It's kind of like he kind of mentions like it sounds nice, but once you kind of realize how just like corrupt the place still is, like it's people screw you over. There's not really anybody, like services and stuff are like really shady and like a bunch of this other shit. They end up going to this restaurant, and the food looks fine, and they start eating it. But before Freya, aka Flair, drinks like this water, Keiru tells her not to do it because he has that eye that basically lets him analyze like everything like a dev tool, and he finds out that it's poisoned. In his reasoning why he thinks it's poisoned, wherever their local water source is, where they're getting their water, he thinks that like something has died in it, like probably like some type of monster, and it's fouling up the water, and a lot of people are getting really sick because of it. It doesn't seem like kill them unless they do it constantly, but like a lot of people, they like end up coming down with a bad fever, and it kind of takes about, I think he said like a week before like all the symptoms kind of come in. But it can kill you, but I don't think for the most part it does, unless you're like constantly like using that drinking source. So in a big brain move, like he's like, wow, I can profit off of this. So him and Freya kind of like take some of that water back, and he ends up drinking it, and he ends up using his ability to basically create a cure. He makes his blood like develop antibodies towards it, And then he ends up like making this cure because he wants to make a little bit of coin. I was like, yeah, it makes sense. I figured it's for the journey. I didn't think he would use it for what he actually did. He ends up going to the merchant, and like he's trying to make sure the merchant's trying to make sure he isn't trying to screw him over. You kind of get that kind of banner. And he makes his assistant drink the cure first. It works, obviously. And then Keiru kind of sets up a deal with him, like, I'll let you set the price next time. Because he ends up getting like 28 gold from him, which is a pretty decent amount. So he kind of sets up like a deal where he's gonna get some more, give some more antidotes to the merchant, and he's gonna end up basically like, but he gets like half the profits. It's more like an investment. It's basically what it is, because it's just like, it sounds like Keiru's gonna end up getting like half his profits. So like Keiru's basically like an owner at this point. So it's a pretty smart move, to be honest with you. Basically a constant cash flow info that he ends up having basically every time he passes through that village. Seemingly, I don't know, like that merchant, he kind of seemed really shady to me. He didn't really seem like someone who's going to treat his word. So after that, him and Freya end up going down the Nafumi route from Shield Hero. I butchered that name, I apologize. I'll probably say it better next time, but they end up going to get a slave, and this was what I thought was funny. So Freya is the one who ends up like, you know, buying a slave is wrong. Like, they get their freedom, they basically get their life taken away and all their freedoms taken away to basically be a servant for the rest of their life. And like Keiru kind of makes a comment like, that's rich coming from you. I'm like, is it though? It's just like, you gotta, like, Keiru's gotta like get it through. Like, Flair doesn't exist anymore. Like, she might as well be dead. Like, he erased her memory. So like the person he essentially has created like a new person, because it just happens to be Flair's body. Because Flair's a person, her personality doesn't exist. He memory wiped her. She doesn't have a clue of what's really going on anymore. So like with her new personality, she's like she's like this really nice, kind of down to earth, like kind person. And then like, so obviously she's gonna think slavery's wrong. So they end up going into the place to buy slave, obviously, and Raftalia is not there. And so in this slave house, it's like the guy just up front was like, do you want like a servant, like a combat slave, or do you want like a sex slave? And obviously he ends up going with a combat slave. So he gets a kind of a look out of them, and they're like this kind of like demi-human kind of race. A lot of them are like they look like part beast or like wolf and a bunch of other stuff. He's like, what else do you have? He ends up taking him down to this dungeon, like a deeper dungeon, to where like, because the combat slaves look like they're kept like definitely apart for good reason. You don't want them breaking out and killing people. He takes them down to this deeper dungeon, which is where like a lot of the quote unquote bad merchandise is, because like a lot of these are kind of sick from the local water supply, and they're people, like they're about to discard them and kill them anyway. You see this guy and this girl, which are like these demi-humans. They look like they're about to like just kill over and die at any minute. They got a lot of bruising. They don't look like they're in anymore. But then he sees this wolf girl, and like, of course, that like she's like, I don't know why I'm watching Tensei Slime at the same time I'm watching this. She looks like kind of like Sophia a little bit, for anyone who's watching both. So he ends up going to her, and he's kind of like he's interested because like she's sick too, but like she's not. She just looks like she's just mad. Basically, she doesn't really show any symptoms of pain. He ends up going to her, and the guy ends up mentioning that you don't want this one. She can't get any stronger. And then she of course lunges at him. I think she's from the Ice Wolf, I believe, clan. It's just like she has these bright, beautiful blue eyes, and she has like these frozen kind of claws. I think she looks pretty. And then after that, we learn that she used to be a sex slave. And then because we already know where this is gonna go. Keiru wants her because he can tell that like she's just mad. Like there's a revenge goal basically that she wants to do, and she kind of reminds Keiru of himself. He ends up taking her in because he wants to help her like kill the people who are responsible for screwing her over, like, because he's on a revenge arc too. So it's just like the more the merrier, like I get a wolf girl to the harem in the process. So I'm gonna give him I think what happened to her, like, as a sex slave, I can't even imagine like the terrible shit that she probably had to go through. It could be a number of things, honestly. It wouldn't surprise me if it was like gang rape. I can probably, like, the one surprised me. They probably like did a bunch of terrible stuff to her, made fun of her. Like, the list goes on, and it gets a lot. It gets a lot darker the more you think about it. I mean, there's as a like slave, like that's a terrible like path, especially like as like a demi-human kind of there, because the humans are just gonna make fun of you even worse and basically have sex with you at the same time. So I'm really excited for this. Like, like I want her. I kind of want to learn like what happened to her, and I kind of want to see her like get revenge on the people who bought her as a sex slave. I'm like, you know what? Like, I want to see her screw over those people. So overall, I thought the episode was really good. God, I can't wait until he gets his revenge on Bullet Blade. He's gonna have to dress up Freya a little bit more, and she still looks like Flare a lot. Obviously, I am really curious to see Nora as well. I don't have much evidence for this, but just the way that Kaoru kind of talks about her, she seems like a more intelligent, like honestly worse version of Flare. Like, that sounds impossible, but it's just kind of how it came across to me. And, like, you get a couple shots of her in the opening, and, like, I don't know why, but it just screamed evil bitch. But again, it's back to what I was saying. There's not really many normal people in this universe so far. Like, we're on episode 3, and all these people are just terrible. Like, people, like they have all these problems. Like, they're just, like, evil bureaucrats, or, all these bad, like, corrupt merchants, and all this other stuff. I'm just like, man, is there like normal people around? Like, come on. Like, so overall, I thought the episode was really good. I'm definitely excited to see where it goes from here. Again, I definitely want to see Bullet Blade just get screwed over. Like, my satisfaction with Flare getting screwed over is kind of done at this point. Like, after last episode, I'm like, yeah, that's satisfying. But I want to see Bullet Blade get screwed over really bad too. I do think he'll kill them. I don't know why. He's not going to keep them. I'm surprised. I'm curious. Here's my last kind of thought. I'm curious what the end goal for Freya, aka Flare, is gonna be. Like, is her memory wiped forever? And like, so it opens up kind of like a debate. It's just like, is she better? Like, is her new personality? Is it better to like let her live that way? It's just like, she's not some evil like bureaucrat like she used to be. And it's just like, I'm curious if she'll ever get her memory back. Or here's like, what should she even get her memory back? It's just like, I don't know. I hope if Kaoru keeps her around, like he treats her a lot better. It seems like he treats her fine now, but I hope he ends up like teaching her skills and ways to be a better person and a bunch of other stuff. But I'm curious to see what Kaoru is kind of gonna guide her and do with her. Obviously, than what he's doing now. But overall, again, I thought the episode was good. What did you guys think? Did you guys think that that flashback was rough? Are you kind of on Keiru's side at this point? Again, I was from episode 1. I was like, dude, screw these people. They're terrible. They kind of deserve everything that's coming to them. But this episode, it's like trying to hammer it in more. Like, okay, like if you weren't convinced by episode 1, episode 3 will convince you. But let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments below, guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.